Boom. Couple seconds early. It's all right. Good morning. Happy
Good
Monday.
morning. Good morning. The
Monday, December 9th.
yeah.
December 9th is my mom's birthday. I better do something.
Oh, yes, you bet. Yeah, or you're gonna be in the doghouse,
hmm
and not a good doghouse.
Yeah, she told me yesterday, if you say my age, I'm going to kill you. So mom's 50 years old. She's 6 years younger than me.
35 forever.
Cool. Okay. Kathleen, thank you for offering to join me this morning. It was very nice of you to do that. I think it's more fun to play off each other. But
Yeah.
before we get started, I wanted to do a nice shout out to mostly to Joy and Susie and Chris and Jimmy, but also to Sarah and Molly, who really did a fantastic job hosting our Toys for Tots event on Saturday. It was pretty cool. We had probably local businesses brought in 40 or so boxes of toys, those big toy boxes.
Yes.
And we actually had 109 bicycles.
Woof.
That was a zoo.
Wow.
Yeah. So they bought this big U-Haul bus truck thing and they put a bunch of toys in that and some bikes too. And then some big military truck.
Wow.
And just put the rest of the bikes in there and are only to their center for distribution. And I bet we made a lot of kids really happy. So
Oh, my heart.
yeah.
Yes.
Plus, it got the agents out in the community talking to local businesses, doing Goodwill, and we
Yeah.
also raised $5,800 in cash.
Holy smokes. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's a pretty nice event.
A lot to be proud of.
Yeah. So, Susie, if you're watching, we're gonna do some press releases on that too. And I don't mean to take anything away if I left anybody's name off, but by far the leading champions were Joy and Susie and Chris and Jimmy. Chris was the Grinch and Jimmy was Santa Claus, which it was a fairly warm day, so that gets a little bit something.
Dynamic trifecta there.
Okay, well, we have two topics we're going to talk about today. And I'm sure you've had this question come up. I've had it come up a lot, and I know the managers have too. And it may or may not be relevant to you today, but it will likely become relevant to you in the future, unfortunately. Right? So I had the opportunity to interview a friend of mine whose house flooded, and he is living through it, but he seemed to really know the rules. And when he told me all the stuff he had to do and what he's doing and the process he's in, I wanted to share what kind of he told me about what they're going through
Yeah.
because they're doing it the right way. And a lot of agents are coming to me saying, hey, Joe and Sally want to list their house. It flooded and they've repaired it, so they're ready to go. That's dangerous.
Pause. Pause.
Pause, really. And here's why. So in this, my friend's situation, they had between 9 inches and 2 inches of water, depending on where it was in the house. So that's enough to, call a remediation company out, which is the right thing to do in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And then it ripped up all the wood floors, ripped up all 4 feet of drywall, cut it all out of the walls. So now you got nothing but open studs. All the receptacles have to be replaced. All the cabinetry is gone. He was able to save one cabinet and one sink. Most of the furniture with 9 inches of water is gone, not salvageable.
Appliance,
Um, what's that?
appliances too got hit.
Appliances too. You get 9 feet of water in your kitchen, your refrigerator, compressor pumps, and all those things. Which thank goodness you have insurance. But imagine the people who don't. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So they are living in the house with concrete floors, and they've got no drywall on the walls, 4 feet up, and most of the house is uninhabitable. So they've got one bed in their master bedroom. He says we eat in the bedroom, we sleep in the bedroom, we watch TV in the bedroom, and they were able to save one sink and one toilet. So they got one functional bathroom,
Oh, my God.
and they're living like this. Now, in the meantime, they've had insurance adjusters come out, and it's not like I think we all think the insurance adjuster comes out. Oh yeah, okay, yep, you've got about $120,000 worth of damage. Here's your check.
No.
That is not how it works, and
Uh,
he is going through hell through this process. And then he explained to me how the insurance adjuster comes out, makes their notes, and then it has to go back for approval. Then it
yeah.
comes to you for approval,
Mhm.
right? And
Yep.
then the hard part is finding a contractor who's available to quote it and then do the work.
Yeah.
And then you got to make a decision. Is that enough money to fix the problem? Or do you want to fight more, which would take longer to get the money?
And
And
most,
then he told me that FEMA came and gave everybody disaster assistance funds, like $750 for food or something like that. But then when they agree on the claim, which is now what Milton, the flood was 10/27, I think. So 11, this is 2 months later. They
Yeah.
still haven't issued a decision,
Nope.
right? And when
Right.
they do issue the decision and it's agreed upon, he said they're going to release 30% of the funds to the contractor, well, to the homeowner. But get a load of this. The check, because he has a mortgage, is going to be made payable to the homeowners and the mortgage company.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to mail the check to the mortgage company, and then they've got to sign off on it, and they got to mail it back to you. And it's not like it's their top priority. So this happens like they're going to overnight it.
Oh no.
Because
Oh
imagine how many processes they're going through and how many checks they're having to write.
yeah.
So that's going to happen for the 30% check. And then the contractor's going to do the 30% of the work. And then they're going to send an inspector out at some point to
Right.
see what else needs to be done, or if they're going to release the next phase of money, which would be 20% more to get it to 50%. Then they'll inspect it again, which is a good secondary, it's a good check and balance, but it's not something simple and fast.
Not at all.
Right. And then if after that gets inspected, then they do another 25% and then another 25% or somewhere in that range until the 100% is paid. But this could take 3 or 4 months to get
Longer,
all this money done.
even longer.
And then I was told, and this just blew me away, FEMA's rules are very specific. If they give you money, the money is to be used to improve the property to at least the standard that it was before.
Right.
So you can't just sell the house to an investor, get
No.
insurance proceeds, and run away to Tahiti.
No, you can't.
Can't do it. So
And there,
anybody who's trying to sell their house now that doesn't have their funds done yet, which most people don't,
right.
a lot of the people in Pinellas are still waiting for their FEMA letters claiming a disaster area. Right. So I was
Right.
like blown away. So what did I write down here? Oh, first of all, and that's for flood insurance, what I was just talking about.
Right.
Well, the rules are very similar for hazard insurance. So in the second storm, a tree was knocked down and crushed the screen enclosure over the pool. And that was deemed totaled. So now they're going to make a hazard insurance claim in addition and go through the same bullshit for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had two boats in the backyard, and both boats were deemed totaled. And that's a whole nother insurance claim for the vessels. So
Right.
it's taken a lot of time for a lot of people to get all this stuff done. And then I wrote down, so it was flood insurance, everything here.
And I'm hearing these claims are not going to be assignable either with a new buyer coming in place. That's the latest thing that came across my desk. I don't know if you got the same thing.
Yes.
So
Yes, they're saying the money has to be used to repair the property. It's not just put in your pocket and you live in a slum.
right.
That was like really shocking to me. So let's talk about this. You're the manager. I'm the broker, manager in many cases. How many agents are coming to you saying, "Hey, I've got my sellers. They want to sell their house. What's your advice?" I always say, wait, pause.
I do too.
But I never had a good reason for why. Now I have a good
Yeah.
reason for why.
Yeah.
Because it's a mess. So let's say you were the investor and you've been an investor for numerous times,
Mm-hmm.
and my house is flooded, and you make me a lowball offer, which is what I'm going to get, right?
Right. Right.
I'm willing to take that. It's enough. Let's say it's enough to pay off my mortgage. Well, now what's going to happen with the insurance proceeds?
Well, from what I'm understanding, those insurance proceeds are not assignable and you can't put another buyer in your shoes. You have to go through the process.
Right.
There's a lot of misinformation out there that you can assign third-party claims and so forth. Be be very, very aware of my understanding as of the last 3 months, or I'm sorry, 3 weeks is what I meant to say. That has been made perfectly clear that you cannot assign those benefits.
Well, there's something called assignment of benefits that was in play years ago.
Right.
That's where a lot of con men were coming up saying, "Hey, give me your assignment of benefits. I'll buy your house. I'll give you X, and then I'll take your insurance proceeds too." But I
Mm-mm.
don't think that's possible anymore.
No, no, because there's been too much fraud. That's one of the reasons why they've tightened up. because of past hurricanes that they've paid out a lot of money out on. Hurricane David comes to mind way back. There was some huge problems down in Miami with insurance proceeds that were paid out and no work was done. And then the communities were left ravished by the hurricane. Andrew was another one that had a lot of problems. I mean, it goes on and on and on, just histories of several past hurricane damages that left communities upside down for years and years, if you will.
My daughter Jessica just sold a house. It was her listing, and buyers came through and inspected it and found out it needs a new roof. And it's about a 1,700 square foot house.
Mm-hmm.
And the roof bid came in at $19,000 for a shingle roof.
God.
Jessica just put a new roof on her new home a couple months ago, pre-hurricanes, about a 1,700 square foot house, and her roof was $12,000. So now that same roof is $7,000 more. That's like 40% more.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
why is it? Because supply and demand raises prices.
It does.
Right. So my friend I was telling you about, he just went and paid out of pocket. And he knows he's going to get proceeds at some point. And he said we had some extra funds laying around. So they put flooring in. So at least they're walking on flooring now instead of concrete. Right. But a lot of people aren't in that position.
No.
He was fortunate because his building value was high enough that he could actually get the proceeds to repair the dwelling.
Right.
But a lot of people are, if they're past that 50% rule or under the 50% rule, or no, I'm sorry, past the 50% rule, they can't rebuild the house.
No.
And then they're really in trouble because
Yes.
if they got a mortgage, oh, it's so scary.
Yeah.
So guys, the message today is in real life real estate. You know, I think Jeff told me there's 1,700 damaged properties just in Madeira Beach.
Oh, we've got Siesta Key and Longboat.
I was going to go there.
Endless.
I think I estimated 700 or 800 flooded, destroyed properties in Apollo Beach, but Apollo Beach is much newer, right? Our roads are higher and our seawalls are higher. So we had the same storm surge, but not as the houses were higher. And then Longboat Key, our office in Longboat Key, as you know, we are still waiting on the adjusters to give us a value and let us know. We believe they're going to let us pass the 50% rule. But now they're telling us they want us to replace the drywall all the way up from ceiling to floor or floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
Right. And every outlet has to be changed. All the windows have to be changed.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking, and this is a little tiny building. We were talking 200, maybe $200,000 by the time it was all done.
Built in the 50s. Yeah. Windows got to come out. There were some other issues. Awnings had to be replaced. There was some issues in the back of the office where some leaks came in. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You're painting and just so much.
Well, then you get hazard insurance and flood insurance you got to deal with.
Right.
But literally, we can't start or do anything until these guys figure it out.
No.
We've remediated. There's been blowers in there drying everything out. There's no mold. It's all been treated.
Right.
But the flooring is not replaced. The walls are not replaced. And
yeah. And they take government.
Somehow we got to tell a consumer, you really need to double check everything before we make a decision to put your house on the market. Right? Because everybody's thinking it's just simple and it's not.
No. And I provide them copies of websites to go to read the information and additional information. Anything I can get my hands on, I put that in front of them and I tell them, look, you're going to have to read through this. You're going to have to see where your process is. The rules that are accordance with building and rebuilding and the repairs and so forth. All of this needs to be complied with. I understand your anxiety. I understand you want to move, but we can't put the cart before the horse. And here's why. And I give them the information that they need so they can slow down because it's emotional, right?
Well, they don't want to hear it. No, I just solve my problem to solve it now.
Yeah, they want it solved right now. And we're in the business also of being honest with our consumers and saying, look, as much as I would love to do this for you, here's why we need to just pause. That's my favorite word. We need to just hold on for just a second.
Yeah. Well, my friend also said that once the work is done, FEMA wants to come back and inspect and make sure you did what you did.
Right.
And you did it right. And if you didn't do it right, like getting permits and all that stuff, they're going to make you rip it out.
Oh, yeah.
Which is going to defend the entire thing.
So
Jennifer from Fort Myers just said, we still have people waiting on insurance payouts. This is 2 years after a storm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Fort Myers Beach has been out on probation from the National Flood Insurance Program because of owners and investors remodeling over the 50% rule.
Right.
Guys, they're going to make you rip it all out and the money's all gone.
And it's not just unique to Florida. 3 years ago, or is it 3 or 2 years ago when we had Ian? How long has Ian been? There's been so many I can't keep track.
Yeah.
We had a bomb cyclo hurricane up in Massachusetts, up on the Cape. And we had to stand in line and wait. We had telephone poles down. Gordon was up there dealing with that while I was down here dealing with Ian. And we had to go back and forth, back and forth. And I had to fly up at one point and argue. Thank God they listened to me. I could pull the lawyer card, and all of a sudden they pay attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm licensed up there, so that's the only reason why they finally would listen. We had light poles that needed to be reinstalled. They wanted to reinstall some light poles that had already been marked unsalvageable. There was markers on there, took pictures of all that, had a hearing. So my whole street, all of us got new light poles. We got new telephone poles and all that. My neighbors love us because we hell for that. I had to make a special trip up there for that. This is the BS that you got to deal with government and bureaucracy. And of course, the first thing Gordon says is, I'm going to sell. I said, hell no, you're not. No, we're not. We're not selling. We're going to fight. We're going to get this done. So we did. So it's not just unique to Florida. It's everywhere because I'm going to say it, there is climate change and we're seeing weird hurricanes and storms that we weren't seeing before. When you see in the Northeast crazy hurricanes like what we're experiencing down here, it's insane.
Yeah, that stuff happens everywhere. There's floods, and there's mud storms, and there's hurricanes, earthquakes, and tidal waves, and all kinds of stuff. No matter where you go, tornadoes in the Midwest. I've been fortunate to talk to some pretty smart people lately, and most of them have said they believe this has been the 100-year storm.
I think so too.
And I hope they're right.
That's what science is saying. Yes. Yeah.
So if this was a 100-year storm, then we should be good for another 100 years.
Yeah, that's
because no other storm has had a surge like this, and the wind is usually pretty minor.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So that was the point. So if you want to list a house like this, the answer is going to be recommended a hard no. Right. And it's going to be hard to tell them that. So if you need help, call me, call any one of us, and we'll help you talk them through it, because I hate to see them lose their opportunity to get their funding. They've been paying insurance for years.
Well, we're seeing that with condo owners too. They all want to get out. The fees have gone up and they want to just assign their benefits and run off. And we got to be really careful. When I was a board president, we had an issue like this come up with a condo we had downtown. There was some storm damage and people wanted to just sell and get out, and they wanted me to represent them. And I said, no, we're not doing that. Number one, I'm board president. There's a conflict of interest for me to represent you with all the knowledge I have going on, with all the claims are ongoing. You're going to have to sit tight and work through the process. And they did, and they ended up getting a lot more money for the properties. But I didn't just impulsively list it, because there was like 8 unit owners that wanted me to list it like right now. And I put the brakes on.
And that led to another question of options. And I had a conversation with an agent last week saying, well, can we give them an option? I said, why would you do that? Right? First of all, an option requires compensation up front to be valid.
Yes.
So pay me up front for the right to buy my house in the future. What price is it going to be worth in the future? If you answer that question, let me know, because I would love to know what my house is going to be worth a year from now.
Wait, that's the Miss Cleo now psychic network. I think they're talking about the 900 lady that's from Michigan that's now in prison. Yeah, her.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with an option. Hey, Kat, I'll give you $20,000. Give me the right to buy your house for $400,000 a year from now. You take the 20 grand. It's your money. If I'd close, it's applied to my purchase price. So I give you 380.
Yeah.
The house is worth 440. So I'll exercise my option. Let's say the house drops to 380. I'm probably not going to give you 400 for it. So I'll walk away from my 20.
Right.
That's the way an option works.
Yeah.
Depending on a big swing, but it's just not a good idea.
Never been a fan of options.
Miss Cleo went to prison. I don't know who Miss Cleo was. Who's that?
Oh, she was a psychic, and she used to be on the television networks. It was hysterical. Somebody else said,
okay, gotcha.
Oh God. See what I started?
But that was the workaround, because agents like to solve problems. So we tell them, no, don't sell the house now. Yeah, but I've got an investor who wants it. Can he option it? Why would you do that? It just doesn't make sense to sell it today for a price, because if the price goes up, then you're cheating the seller. Let's go say price goes down, the buyer's going to walk.
Yeah.
And the buyer's not going to want to give you a strong enough option to hold his feet to the fire.
Yeah.
So you're wasting time. So the answer is pause and reflect and wait and talk to the insurance people and see what's going on. I was talking to the people I walked with this morning. one of the ladies is getting a new roof. And one of the guys we run into in the neighborhood on a different street, his roof's in process. So they ripped his roof off because it was leaking. They put the underlayment down and all the support beams,
Mhm.
but they don't know when his tiles come.
Ugh,
It's 2 or 3 months away,
yeah.
but at least the roof is dried in now.
Right. Right.
And the other lady said her roof was supposed to be done before Christmas. And now they're talking mid-January, and she's got
Mm.
some new material that's a metal that looks like tile. Right. So there's different things, but everything's taking time.
It's really not in our control, that portion of it. But what is in our control is giving good advice, to helping our people that come to us that need help diffuse that emotion, because the name of the game is to keep people focused.
Mm-hmm.
Our fiduciary duty comes first. As much as we'd love to have multiple closings, what's going to happen down the road when we gave them the wrong advice or didn't listen or impulsively put it up too quick because we got caught up in their emotion. It's so easy to get caught up in that. If you're a big empath, man, they just roll you right into it. But you got to
Mm-hmm.
stand back and say, no, this is what we have to do. Here's why. Here's the information. I want you to talk to your insurance adjuster. I want you to talk to, if you want, go get counsel. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but just be objective instead of subjective. That's the name of the game with this.
And don't overreact. Just calm, be the calming force.
Yeah, no, they feed off of that.
Speaking of which, next topic. For the last 6 months, probably, as the broker for most of the company, I get all these notices saying your office is at risk of MLS suspension. Right? Because at any time an agent doesn't do what they're supposed to do, the only leverage they have against the broker is to shut down the entire brokerage. Right? So I got an email that says basically the following people, and it'll list 10 or 20 people in your brokerage, and I'm one for each board I get. So there's a lot of them. And it says, somebody, their license, they did not do their education, or did not pay their dues, or did not pay their dues, or do their education. So we're going to cover that today, because for 6 months, poor Susie, I forward those to her. And then she calls, texts, and emails the agents, which the board notified the agents too.
Yeah.
So the agents are ignoring, a lot of the agents, I'm not picking out all agents by any means, but a lot of the agents are ignoring those messages and not reacting to them. Right. So on Saturday morning, right before Toys for Tots, I get
Yeah.
a note. I copied you because one or two of your agents were on it.
Yep.
4 of the 5 were marked involuntary inactive, which means you don't have a real estate license anymore.
No, you
And
cannot
1
practice.
was marked null and void,
No, that's
which
terrible.
means you got to take the real estate school all over again.
Yeah.
If you want to reinstate your license.
Yeah.
So involuntary inactive means if you have any listings as the broker, I have to assign those to another agent because you can't sell it.
No.
You
No.
can't answer sign calls. You
Uh-uh.
can't have it on the MLS because
Nope.
it's a felony.
It
You
is.
can't practice real estate without a license.
3rd-degree felony.
Well, I don't know what that covers. Probably just a fine.
No, 3rd-degree felony, practicing real estate without a license. It depends on your priors. When I did the real estate fraud for the state attorney's office in Tampa, if I had a multiple offender, they could be looking at prison if they've done this enough times. The general rule is probation. And if you go into a program, then at the end of that program, after you've paid your fees and everything else, you have an opportunity to have your record wiped clean. But that's going to be the sole discretion of the state attorney. So this is serious stuff, guys. And
yeah, so you got to do it. So Kathleen, I mentioned this to her, and she, being the attorney that she is, went and did a lot of research. And I thought we'd share that with you because it is important. And there's 2 parts of this. I'm gonna go kind of quick because you guys should all know this. You all went to real estate school.
Yeah.
And it's all part of half of the school is telling you what you can't do and what you must do and how much you get charged.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, because our computers are down here. I'm working off the phone.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because you get your real estate license doesn't mean you're good to go forever. Right? Your initial real estate license expires in 18 to 24 months, depending on when you took the exam. And the expiration date is located at the bottom of your license. I'm going to show you how to get there in a second.
Yeah.
After the first post renewal, you're required to take a 14-hour course. No, I'm sorry, that's not right. After your first renewal, You have to do the 45-hour course.
Correct.
So 63 hours, then 45 hours,
Yeah.
then every 2 years, 14 hours after that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right. But you
Right.
don't just have to take the course. You got to take the course. You got to make sure it gets in the hands of the real estate commission, and you got to make sure renewal fees.
Right.
Some
Download that.
agents take the course, let the training school send it to the DVPR, and they don't go online and pay their fees.
Yeah.
Well, that's still considered you didn't renew your real estate license.
Right.
So that's what all this was for many people, was just doing that. But it's step one, do the course. Step two, make sure it gets in the hands of the DVPR, Department of Business and Professional Regulation. And three, you pay your dues
Right.
to the real estate commission.
Yeah.
And then you also have to do your board stuff.
Right.
Right. And your board stuff is MLS compliance and your code of ethics updates.
Correct.
So all that's in there. So
Yeah.
completing education, I'll go to the website. Reactivating an involuntary license, because a lot of you are on the status list right now. If your license becomes inactive, and if you don't complete your continuing education requirements on time, this reinstatement of license, your license will be void, and you will need to start the licensing process from scratch. I don't think that's right on, well, it's their language, so
It's their language.
you
What they're
cannot practice real estate without an active license. That's for true. If your license has been inactive for less than 1 year, you can get it reactivated by completing your
right.
14-hour course and paying the fees. You renew an involuntary inactive license via online course electronically submitted by your course provider. Piece of cake. I do that. I can't say it's a recorded class. It doesn't take me 14 hours to do it.
No.
But of
No.
course, I've been doing it for 34 years. The things haven't changed.
3 hours one day and sit through it.
Keep a copy for you and submit the copy via email to your office manager, or a copy of renewal notice. We have a .loop file on all of you. So if you send it to Susie Brush at c2mbe.com,
Mm-hmm.
she'll take it, she'll scan it, upload it to .loop in your personnel file, and we'll keep it for you. And if we ever get audited, we've got it.
Right.
The DVPR monitors your CE compliance, and so do the boards. The next one open is this one. This one I think we're going to spend a little more time on. This is Stellar MLS, which most of us are Stellar, but not all of us. But it doesn't matter. Stellar is by far the largest MLS in the state, and everybody else kind of copies them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you talk about this,
it's a great.
When I read this last night, I'm like, God, some of this is just a good refresher.
It is. And the other part of the MLS course that you take is called the MLS refresher, which is 104. And it's just to make sure that you understand what the rules are. Even though we're not putting listings into the system, what we do need to be is mindful of what you can and cannot put in your MLS data sheets that the back office is careful to always look at with us. And when the back office sends out messages, it's not because they're trying to annoy us. They're really helping us tremendously.
Yeah. Like the MLS does not accept net listings or open listings.
Right.
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 Mandatory listing types must be entered in MLS within 5 business days upon the latter of the date the signature signed or the beginning date on the listing agreement.
Yep.
Right. And if we don't do that, then what do we have to do? It's called what's it called?
The seller's MLS data sheet that they complete as to when the listing is going to be put in.
I sign them all the time. It's
Right.
Seller permission to exclude
Yep.
from MLS or something.
Correct. Right.
Right.
Yep.
And then this one is going to be interesting because it's a big topic right now. The clear cooperation policy says you can't do any public marketing of the property unless the listing is on the MLS within 1 business day of the marketing.
Right.
Right. And what was the purpose of that?
Stop those backdoor deals being made and people not giving the seller the opportunity to have their market exposed on their property as much as possible.
But now that we have the NAR settlement situation with buyer brokerage in place, we're not relying on the MLS cooperation anymore.
No.
The clear cooperation policy is really not needed.
It's true.
Because if you're showing property, you better damn well have a buyer broker agreement.
Yeah.
So you're covered. So we really don't need the clear cooperation policy. So I'll suspect that's going to change in the very near future.
I think you're right.
But in the meantime, it's still a thing. So there's no public marketing, which means flyers, yard signs, digital marketing, broker website displays, digital communications, and multi-brokerage listing sharing networks. You can't do any of that unless it's on the MLS. And until that rule changes, that rule is in effect. Yeah, the seller should delay of entry in MLS to avoid the 5 business day rule. Where to find the listing exclusion forms for us? Of course, that's .loop.
Mm-hmm.
How to submit it? You just turn it into listings in C2B. We take care of all that for you.
Yeah.
Reporting violations. You know, that's I don't want to become the watchdog for the industry, but I also don't want to be overrun by a bunch of people that clearly don't follow the rules or know what the rules are. Right? I think it's really silly they had to invent FF and GG because nobody knows how to give a seller's compensation agreement. Right?
Oh yeah.
Prior to activating a listing on the MLS, a data entry form must be signed by the broker, or if authorized by their broker, the agent, as well as the sellers. So they're saying the agent and the sellers have to sign the MLS data entry form.
Oh yeah.
Most of
Absolutely.
you are not doing that. I just know it's the case. It's probably okay. I don't think it's a big thing. The data just has forms that are,
For purposes of auditing, it is a big thing because you want to make sure everything's consistent.
yeah, I think you're right. I'll talk to Sammy about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It goes to a lot of the rules about MLS listings and stuff like that too. Manufactured mobile homes must be on seller-owned land in a resident-owned mobile home park. I'm going to save this document because people say, "Can I put my mobile home on the MLS?" No, but you can put your mobile home on Zillow, but you got to manually do it.
And there's a special web page just for mobile homes too that you sign up for.
Right.
That's used, and it's very effective.
We're going to start to see this again too.
Oh yes.
Short sales, bank owned, maybe even auctions.
Yeah.
My suspicion is that a lot of these damaged homes are going to be, their mortgages are not going to be bigger. Let's say you bought a waterfront house very recently for 850,000. And it's a little bungalow,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the building value is only $100,000, and it's cost 200,000 to fix it. That's will make it 225,000, more than 50%. That means they can't. They got to knock it down. So now they
Yeah.
got a $600,000 mortgage on a vacant lot, and now they're going to go borrow $600,000 to build a house and add that to this. They have $1.2 million. A lot of people can't afford $1.2 million mortgage when they already had 600 they qualified for.
Yeah.
That means they're going to have to sell the property, and they're not going to get enough to pay off the bank. So that's going to be a short sale, or the bank's going to take it back, and they're going to have to deal with
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep.
And then they're probably going to want to knock it down, and they're going to add fees and all that. It's going to be a mess, and we're not going to know how big of a mess it is for quite some time.
That's true. Very true.
Of course, we got to disclose housing for older purpose. PACE disclosures, guys, these are really important things when you're talking to a seller to make sure that we know what their balances are. And how would you find that?
Well, your tax records, when you go into the tax base, there's two parts to your tax records. You're going to have your ad valorem taxes, your non-ad valorem taxes, and you will see. Yeah, there you go. You're holding it up,
I just got my tax bill today. It's got my, you can't see this, but this is my ad valorem, my property taxes. And
right?
it's got county operating costs, environmental land costs, county MSTU, library service, parks and bonds, school, local, school, state,
Sure.
Port Authority, Hillsborough County Transit, Children's Board, and Water Management.
Mm-hmm.
Now my not ad valorem, and this is my house here, stormwater management, solid waste disposal, and solid waste collection.
Mm-hmm.
It would say PACE loan on
That's
here.
that's absolutely right. Yeah.
And that guarantees that that lender is going to be paid back. So from there, ancient owned property and purchase agreement, you must disclose it. We know all that.
Mm-hmm.
MLS teams, we don't do a lot of those, but if you are a team or if not being a team, you got to fill out that. Matrix reports, I should learn more about these. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover on this. Then here we are, written buyer agreements as of August 6th. That was August 17th. No, that's right. Seller wrote required by August 6th, but settlement required by August 17th. And we've got all the different agreements. You guys know all about that already.
Mm-hmm.
Tours. Okay, last thing I want to show you is I'm going to shoot screw here. And this is so simple. I do it all the time. When I find an agent, when I get a license or somebody left or whatever, you go to My Florida license.com.
Mm-hmm.
This I want to go home. MyFloridaLicense.com. And it says right here, verify a license. And you search by name. Okay, hit search.
Mm-hmm.
Last name, well, you me, Beggins. First name Craig. If you just put a C, that'll pop up. And
Mhm.
then you hit search. And
Boom.
I got a bunch of licenses,
Yep.
but I'm currently active,
Right.
right? And I'm active until September 30th of this year. So it
Mhm.
tells me. So the last thing I wrote on my list is put a Google reminder in your calendar
Oh my God,
for
yes.
30 days before or 45 days before this date and say, get your shit together. Pardon my French. Take your continuing education. If
Yeah.
it's 45 days, your first year in real estate,
Yeah.
find out when your 45 days is up until you're
Yeah.
active until that date. Schedule time to get your 45 hours done because that's a 45-hour class,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So every time we try to open a new office, I got to open a new license. So the applications, we withdrew them. Just negotiations. So,
Sure.
and then if
Yeah.
you click on my name or your name, you'll see view related license information.
Right.
And then it'll say, this is my license for Brandon,
Mhm.
right? And it
Mhm.
just tells you where I'm licensed and what I did. And
And
this
your
was,
birth number and you're active and you're current.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, very much. It's important that I maintain that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Put it.
if you see another agent and you want to say, hey, let's see if I have any license complaints against me.
Now. No.
Nope.
Nope.
That's pretty amazing after 50,000 transactions.
Yep.
So myself. All right. So that's how easy it is. myfloridalicense.com, search by name, type in your name, and you'll be there. Now, if you have a common name like
Long.
Mike Jones, there'll be a lot of Mike Jones. So you can limit it down to, because when you go back to that page,
Yeah.
you can choose license category. And you can, this is alcohol, beverage, and tobacco license, architectural interior design license, asbestos contractors, athlete agents, barbers, boxing, kickboxing, cosmetology. All these license types are in here. So you can narrow it down if you have a common name.
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
It does. Put it on your Google Calendar.
Yes, because it's your responsibility.
It is.
We do it for you because we care, but it's
Yeah.
really a lot to manage as the company gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So
Yeah.
I just want to remind you guys, you have a responsibility and it's really easy to monitor.
Yeah. It is.
Rach said that site is my state MLS for anyone who has mobile home listings.
Yep.
Mike says, do we need to ask the buyer's realtor to see the showing agreement? No, the buyer's agent does not need to share any of their contracts with you. Their agreements between them and their buyer.
Right.
You need to share your seller's compensation agreement with the buyer's agent. But that's it. We'll let the title company do the rest of that.
Right.
Okay. That's all I got. We got office hours coming up. I think Jessica Roman is hosting that today.
Oh, nice.
Should be an email in your inbox that starts at 9:45, which is 8 minutes from now.
That's it.
So we'll run and be ready for a nice sales meeting tomorrow as we come close to the end of the year.
Can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. All right, guys. Happy Monday. Thanks for tuning in
Happy
today.
day.
Bye.